Hello and welcome to Spotlight on Newcastle County, which features all things Newcastle County, Delaware. I'm your host, Melody Kitchen. You never know who we're going to talk to or where we're going to visit. For today's show, I'm pleased to welcome Christina School Board President Member Fred Pulaski and Christina School District Superintendent Dr. Freeman Williams. School Board President Pulaski and Dr. Williams are here today to discuss the May 27th operating referendum Christina is holding to ask district residents for a tax increase in the district that serves Greater Newark and a portion of Wilmington. Thank you for being here today, gentlemen.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
To begin with, I just wanted to make it apparent to our viewers at home that the school district is the only jurisdiction where residents can actually vote yes or no to a tax increase. Now, I wanted to ask, why did you decide to ask Christina School District residents for a tax increase?
Well, to explain that, we have three primary funding sources. We get our budget from the state of Delaware, we get part of our budget from the federal government, and the third part comes from local tax dollars. Those local tax dollars are based on assessed value of property and a tax rate. With time, the assessed value essentially has not changed.
Okay.
Tax rate has not changed, but our expenses that we pay, that we use that tax money to pay, have increased.
Sure.
83% of the local tax money goes to the local portion of teacher salaries and benefits, and it also funds the local part of transportation, electricity, services in our schools, the student resource officers that we employ in our schools, copy paper for machines. So those costs have been going up over the years. And since the last tax increase in 2010, we initially had more income than we needed and we built reserves. But then after a few years, as expenses go up, we would start to use up the reserves. And we're at a point now where we have no additional reserves to use. So we need a tax increase to be able to have enough local tax income to cover our costs.
And that's a natural part of the referendum process, that you build up your reserves and then you work your way down, and that it's normally between a 3 and a 5 year period that you go back out and you make the request to our taxpayers. So the time frame that we're working within is a normal time frame.
It's fairly regular.
Fairly regular.
Yeah, and this is a process that every of the standard or traditional school districts in the state of Delaware have to go through.
Okay, so this is not uncommon
No.
to ask for a tax increase
Yes.
due to just rising costs of running a school district.
Exactly.
Yes.
Can you explain for us exactly how school taxes are calculated?
The school tax is, there's two parts to the determination. One is the assessed value of the property, and that assessed value for Newcastle County was last determined in 1983, and it's determined by the county. The school districts don't determine the assessed value, the county does that, and they use that both for, it's used for school taxes and for county taxes.
Okay.
And that is, the assessed value does not change with time. The other part to it is the tax rate, and that's why we're going for a referendum to increase the tax rate.
What is Christina School District's current tax rate?
The current tax rate is, let me see, $1.70 for the operating
Yes,
part
that's
to
correct.
it. There's some additional small parts that total it to $2.40.
I believe it's 40 cents. Yeah.
And how much are you proposing to increase this tax rate by?
The increase would be 37 cents, which is about a 17% increase.
Okay. And you've said on video on Christina's website that you've pledged to reduce administrative
Yes.
expenses. Can you
Sure, I
elaborate?
can elaborate. That we started the 14-15 school year with 99 administrators in our district, and we will be starting the 15-16 July 1st with actually with 93. Now, let me explain that a little bit further.
Sure.
So if to make it an apples and apples comparison with other districts, that we're very fortunate that we have some statewide programs that we're very proud of, our Brennan School and also Delaware School for the Deaf. They're phenomenal programs, but they're statewide in nature. So they're included in our overall administrative total. So if you take those numbers out, then really the number of administrators that we have in our district is 73. And it really speaks to the fact that we understand the need for us to be an efficient organization. We're not top-heavy. Again, if you look at 96 compared to 73, I think that in itself really speaks to the adjustments we've made, and we've made a number of other adjustments to our budget, because I think we understand in today's economy that our citizens are just, they're asking us to make the same kinds of sacrifices that they're making on a family level, and we think that's more than fair. So as a district, we're doing that, and we're going to continue to do that with our educational expense committee that our board established at our most recent board meeting. We're excited. In fact, we'll be meeting tonight with our first meeting with our members, and our charge is really focused on the following: to find ways to be more efficient and to find savings in our areas, and that we're committed to looking at every particular area, because we want to make sure that we've not overlooked any particular source of resources that could be adjusted.
That was also something I was going to ask. Are there programs that are at risk of being cut if this referendum does fail?
Well, again, one of the things that we're working very hard as a district, both our citizens, our volunteers, our board members, our administrators, teachers, our whole community, we're all trying to pull together to try to minimize the impact on children.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's our business, and we're committed, and we understand the importance of having all the appropriate resources. But I think at the end of the day, that if the referendum were not to pass, it would have a negative impact on services, supports directly connected to children. Right. And we're committed to minimizing that as much as possible. But one of the things that we have to reinforce to our public is that 83% of our expenditures are based on the fact that it's based on people. So when you look at trying to make reductions or adjustments, it has to impact staff, and the largest portion of our personnel, of course, are teachers, and because they are the most important.
Right. And I was also going to ask, what would happen should this referendum fail?
Well, it will have impact on class sizes.
Right.
Services, for example, we would have to look at our transportation services, but you look at programs across the board. When you look at transporting and getting young people to and from school, those things would be adjusted. Once students were in school, our class sizes would be impacted. Then we'd also have to look at adjusting both after school and before school programs and things that we obviously we don't want to do, right. but we have a commitment to live within our financial means, and if we don't pass the referendum, then we must make $9.5 million worth of reductions.
Yeah, so I mean, from a financial viewpoint, in conjunction with the proposed increase, we've already determined we're going to reduce spending in this area, specifically local tax money, by $1.8 million per year. If the referendum doesn't pass, that's going to have to be $9.5 million we'll have to reduce.
I know that a lot of people, a lot of viewers will be wondering, a lot of this money, is it going towards paying, salaries or to step increases? How much is actually going to the children in the classroom?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's an interesting question. People say, how much is it going directly to students in the classroom? Well, we don't hand any money to students.
Right.
But we have teachers who teach students. Mm-hmm. We have programs for students. We have reading or specialists that we need in particular areas for that need
Special needs
specialists and those things. If, and if that's paid out of local tax dollars, if the referendum doesn't pass, we need to reduce those areas by 9.5 million. Part of that, I am sure, will come out of fewer teachers, which means larger classrooms, elimination of specialists, special support. It may mean that after-school programs, we wouldn't be able to run an after-school program bus to get children home because we just need to reduce the spending. We're still working through, and that's the purpose of this expense reduction committee, as to what are the places we could reduce spending to have the least impact on students. But if we need to cut 9.5, it will have an impact on students.
Absolutely. So what is the end result, essentially, that you're hoping to get from this referendum?
We're hoping that our community will feel that they have enough information and that they will be able to support this effort to support our students, because really the focus has been and will always continue to be finding ways to support our students, because it's about our kids, and it's about making sure that we provide them with the foundation so they can be successful. Because I think one of the things I think many of us believe in is that the beauty of American democracy is that we've all had a chance. Education is the equalizer in this process, and the strong belief in public education. And I think those of us who've had the benefit of going through the public education system, and I'm a proud product of our school system, and I'm very proud to say that. And I think, but there was always a need, a commitment from the community to really contribute to that. And we know that times are a little challenging now, and that for many of our citizens, they're going through some tough economic times. But we have to step back and just ask the following question. And I think from my vantage point, not so much as superintendent, but as a lifetime resident of Newcastle County, who long after he retires is going to live here, and I'm going to continue to support public education. And I think it's incumbent upon us. It's now our turn to do that,
Right.
so that we can make sure that the future generations have the opportunities to be successful like we had.
I'm actually glad that you mentioned that, because I know that a lot of the people that are coming out in support of the referendum are parents with children that are currently in the school.
Mm-hmm.
But I would hope that this interview, this show, would speak to others who maybe their children are grown and maybe they don't think about it anymore.
Right.
But it is essential that they come out and support the school system.
Yes.
Well, and I think another part to that too is that the ability to educate children well and have good schools as a reflection on the entire community. And so having a good school system that people are proud of supports the value of people's houses, the overall community, and it's part of a community effort, not just for the parents who currently have children in
Yes.
school.
Right. And I think it really just reconnects us as a community, that we don't lose sight that we have to stay bonded and stay focused and help each other out, whether it's our children, whether it's our seniors, whatever. That's when a community really refocuses and becomes really vibrant and strong. And that's what we want from Newcastle County.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to thank you both so much for coming in today. Is there anything that you'd like to add or reiterate before we wrap up?
I would just like to say, I know on behalf of the Christina School District and our citizens, and more specifically our students, we really thank you for the opportunity for us to articulate the need for the referendum. And we really appreciate the forum. And more importantly, we just are going to continue from now to May 27th to reach out to our community to make sure that all of our community stakeholders are cognizant and aware of the referendum and the need for the referendum to be supported.
Absolutely.
And I think from my viewpoint, the most important message is this is for the children.
Right.
Yes.
They are the ones that will benefit from the public education. Those are the ones that'll be disserviced if we have to cut services to children because we don't have the money. So it's all about the children.
Thank you both so much for coming in today, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, this wraps up this edition of Spotlight on Newcastle County. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Please keep it tuned to NCC TV for news and information on Newcastle County, Delaware. For executive producer Jim McDonald, director Tony Prado, and the NCC TV crew members Josue Ortega and Lisa Lancaster, this is Melody Kitchen. Thank you for watching. Take care.